you guys are super excited to have your internships and you're making money. So just so that you guys keep in mind how to budget that money correctly, we have with us Paige Rogers, who is from the U of I Credit Union. So I will pass that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is the 4th or 5th year I've done this, and we really enjoy it. One of our passions is really working with the community, working with campus, and I love doing financial literacy because I think that one of the biggest mysteries is your credit score and how it can really impact your life going forward and how to set yourself up for success in college and post-graduation. So without further ado, here's a little video about who the credit union is.
You and I, we're partners, working together for a stronger community. You and I are teammates, cheering each other on in this sport called life. You and I might not know each other yet, but we're neighbors, and that counts for something. You and I both know that you work hard for what you earn. From humble beginnings, and small victories, to life-changing decisions, and weathering the storm, you've got a fighting spirit. And at University of Illinois Community Credit Union, we're your biggest fan. We believe you deserve to keep more of your money and to have a whole team helping you achieve your financial goals. Sure, we started out only serving U of I employees, but we've graduated to serving the entire Champaign-Urbana community. So come see what it means to have a better banking experience, because you and I, we belong together. University of Illinois Community Credit Union, for campus and community. Visit uoficreditunion.org to learn more.
Okay, so as I said before, we want to help make sure that you're able to set the stage for financial success post-graduation. Today, we'll talk about where your money goes, the financial struggles of a student.
Community Credit Union. For campus and community.
Little comic relief there. So, a little side note, my sister got married on Saturday, and while we were all getting ready, so my youngest sister got married. My middle sister said, it's okay, if somebody laughs, it'll really just lighten the mood, and then you don't have to be as nervous. People will remember this. So my middle sister is standing next to my youngest sister, who's the bride, and she walks up onto this platform and trips on her way up, and then catches herself, and then trips off the platform, off the stage, and catch her. So everybody's laughing, right? And that was the comic relief for my sister, the bride, who got married, lighten the mood. So got a little bit of that today, I guess. So we'll talk about where your money goes, the financial struggles of a student, how to really be a thrifty student, how you guys find ways to save money, developing a personal spending plan, credit score 101, which is really going to be the meat of this presentation. I think that's really what you guys all probably want to hear about most. And then how to contact me if you have additional questions. I'll be around a little bit after. I know you guys all have to get back, so don't feel like you have to stay. You're welcome to email me or reach out. We'll go from there. But the most important thing is that as we go through, this presentation is for you. So make sure that you stop and ask questions along the way. There's a little bit, there's a spot up here. If anybody needs a spot, there's extra materials. I think that we may have run out of the budget sheet, so we'll get those over to the team here to distribute later. So the first thing is, what do you really spend your money on? As students, you're either paying for your housing or your parents are paying for your housing. Who is responsible for your own housing expense throughout the year? So that's really where the majority of your money goes, is towards rent, water, electricity, heat. If your apartment complex or wherever you're living doesn't provide that. And then really food, groceries and dining out. This is probably the biggest area that people don't actually write down and budget for. It just kind of gets spent. It just kind of goes. So one of the most important things that we can say to you as students is, now that you have a little influx of income, set a budget for yourself on food so you're not just kind of spending it away on food and things that aren't really a tangible benefit and aren't really adding a lot of value for you. Transportation, so you either probably have a public transportation expense or car loan, gas, something like that, car insurance. And then clothes, right? I mean, you need to be able to walk around clothed. And then also entertainment. So who likes to kind of budget for entertainment, how much they're going to spend each week? And anybody do that? Yeah? So how much do you guys kind of budget for entertainment each week? I can't hear, sorry. Like 15, 20, don't know, it just kind of gets spent, right? That happens sometimes. So that's another piece people don't really build into their budget is factors for entertainment. You like to do things, you like to have fun, and that sometimes costs money. So let's make sure that we build that into your budget for the summer, and then maybe even for the school year so that you can set aside money from your income that you're earning this summer and then spend it kind of throughout the school year when you might not necessarily have as much income. And then we also have down payments. Some people do have credit cards or student loans they're making payments on now, so we do want to make sure that that's factored into the budget. So what challenges do you all see that are barriers to meeting your financial goals now or in the future? Student debt, student loans. That's the biggest burden probably of this and the previous generation. What else? So impulse buying is probably one of the biggest barriers. So you might budget or you might go out and maybe there's, what are things that you guys just kind of spend money on that you weren't really planning to spend money on? Clothes, I agree with that one. Electronics, so latest and greatest, right? What else? As students, do you ever have any emergency expenses that you're not planning for or able to cover on your own? Car expenses, if something breaks down, maybe your insurance rate changes, something like that. Using credit cards, so because you're impulse buying, you might be using credit cards and spending money that you don't have, you didn't plan to spend or budget for. Generally just poor spending habits and not having a budget. And then financial emergencies, so things like a car, potentially even medical expense. As students, you might have medical expense that you're not planning for. So really kind of, to avoid the impulse buying, give yourself the 4th degree. Think about, is it a want or a need? Do you really need it? Do you have to have it today? What's going to happen if you don't get it? So you want that new pair of shoes or that new top or that new phone. What is the worst case scenario? Are you going to die or is it just like a nice to have, right? And what are you actually going to end up paying for it long term if you're using a credit card or money that you don't have for it? And have you gotten along without it until now? So what's really your compelling factor to make you want to go out and purchase this thing today? Just some things to think about. So really, without a budget, it's like driving a car without a steering wheel. I mean, you're just kind of going along and just kind of meandering down the road, right? So you want a plan to meet your goals, and it also minimizes anxiety about how you're going to pay your bills. If you really give every dollar a name and tell it where it's going, you don't wonder where it went later. So what we provided to you guys today is a basic budget sheet. There's some extras up front if you didn't get one. We're not going to walk through this, but if you need help with it, please feel free to reach out. The things that you're going to really want to focus on are your housing expense, clothing, transportation, student loans. I encourage each of you to kind of just scratch out your summer budget and really think about what you're going to spend every month on the items that you know are necessities, and then think about what you feel is reasonable to spend on things like entertainment or what some people call flow money for things they're not planning for, right? Things might come up and you didn't plan to do this activity, but you really want to, so you want a little bit of a buffer built in, and then you don't feel as constrained by your budget. But then also plan for saving. What do you need to save things for? Maybe as a student you need to save money for your books in the fall semester, or maybe also your books in the spring semester if you won't have any other income past this summer. So really think about the year going forward and what needs to go into the saving and the spending buckets. Again, if you have questions about this, we're not going to walk through it today, but let me know. Potentially you might have 2 income earners in your household if you have a partner. So we did build it so that you can have more than one person's income and expenses, especially if you're the primary income source. So as you're going through the budget, as you're building it, just focus on your necessities first, which would be your housing, your food, your transportation, and your clothing. Those are kind of considered your 4 walls. Before you pay for anything else, focus on those 4 items. So this is the part that everybody really loves because we talk about credit scores. And what is the biggest myth that you all think might be floating around about your credit score today? Okay, who knows what your credit score is? Who knows your number? Who got it? Whose number's over 850? Good, because it's not supposed to be. So there are a lot of things out there like Credit Karma and all those things, and they use a credit score factor that's not necessarily what the financial institutions use when they think about how they're going to lend you money or give you a rate for your car insurance or whatever it may be. So today we're going to talk about how to build your credit and focus on the credit score that matters, not the kind of gimmicky ones that are out there today, and how you can make sure that everything on your credit report is factual and accurate. So really, what you don't know can hurt you quite a bit. So the credit bureau really looks at how you're utilizing something now and then paying for it over time. So education, so your student loans. So you have the money now, but then how are you paying for it over time? You're buying a car today. How well are you paying that financial institution back over time? So looking at really your character, how well do you honor your financial obligations? Do you actually pay them or do you not pay them? And do you pay them on time? So your capacity, how easy is it for you to repay the debt? If all your credit cards are maxed out and you're constantly opening more loans, it appears to the credit bureau and any lender or financial institution that you're living beyond your means. And then the collateral, is the loan secured by something? So is it secured by a home, like a mortgage, or a car, or is it unsecured? For example, a student loan or a loan for tires, if you needed tires for your car all of a sudden, or a payday loan, which is really like last resort. Don't do that ever if you can avoid it. And then a credit card would be another example of an unsecured loan. Any questions so far? So what really makes up your credit score? What is it really? It's kind of a forecast of how well you're going to repay the loan, and it looks back for 24 months. So what it does for a lender is it says, how well do we think they're going to repay the loan? And then the lender determines how risky of a borrower that you may be. It gives us a snapshot of your credit history at that one particular point in time. So if you have had a late payment last month, it's going to show us that. But if we look at you a month before, it won't show us that you have a late payment coming. So it's one particular point in time, the balance on the credit card or the car loan or the mortgage at that particular point in time. And then it gives us kind of your payment history for the last 24 months. If you have made payments on time, or if they've been late, or if you've been over your credit card limit, or if you are currently past due. So credit reports are really only related to one person's individual credit. If you're an authorized user on a credit card, that credit card is going to show up on your credit report, but it's not going to impact you positively or negatively because you are not responsible for that debt. And then really the credit score is always changing. So from one day to the next, your credit score could bounce 10 to 50 points depending on multiple factors. So depending on, did a loan just become 1 month older than it was last month? Did your payment post to your credit card and now you have a zero balance and yesterday it showed $2,500. So it's normal for fluctuations to occur on credit scores, and it's nothing to really get concerned about, as long as everything is factual. So the 5 biggest components that go into your credit score is your payment history. That's the largest chunk. It's about 35%. So again, have you been paying your credit on time? Have you been paying your bills on time? Your mortgage, your car loan, your student loans, if it's in repayment now. And then the amounts owed. What they're really looking at in terms of this is, if you have a $10,000 limit on your credit card, do you owe $1,000 or do you owe $9,900? So if you owe $9,900, your card is almost maxed out, and it looks like you're just living beyond your means. If you owe $1,000, then it looks like you're able to handle the debt load that you've been provided, and you're really just using the credit card for maybe day-to-day spending or emergencies, and then taking care of it right away, and not really living off of it. The difference in those two types of habits can impact your credit score by as much as 100 to 200 points. So really think about how you're using your credit card, if you have one when you're using it. Also, the length of credit history. So we could be looking at me, and we could be looking at Jenny. We could have the exact same things on our credit report. I mean, exactly. So same mortgage amount, same car loan amount, same credit card, same student loan. But let's say Jenny's had her stuff 10 years longer than I have. Her credit score is going to be significantly higher because she's shown a much longer history of ability to pay and maintain that debt load. So it's okay when you come out of school and your credit score may not be as high as a sibling or a parent or someone else, even if you're not carrying as much debt or you're carrying the exact same things. So one of the things that you can do is start building your credit now, so that as you come out of school and want to start buying things with those amazing jobs you're going to get, you have a higher credit score and get better rates. And then new credit. The most important thing here is that you don't want to open up 2 and 3 and 4 things all at once. If you can stagger them out, that's a good idea. A rule of thumb is to open no more than 2 things over the course of 12 months. And that would be maximum. So if you're saying, I'm going to open a credit card now, start really establishing some credit history, maybe in a year from now, open another one to build some additional credit history. Or you're opening a credit card and then maybe a car. But what you don't want to do is go out and open like 4 or 5 credit cards all at once and think that it's going to help you establish some credit history. So try to space it out if at all possible. Sometimes it's not possible with student loans. And one just little awareness factor about student loans is many times you think you have one student loan because you have one payment, but every semester they issue you a new student loan. It's showing up as an individual loan on your credit report. That's okay, don't worry about it, just something for awareness. So when you do go check your credit report after this session and you see multiple student loans for different amounts, just make sure they all total what you expect them to be. And then types of credit used. So let's say Jenny has a mortgage and a car loan on her credit report, but I only have credit cards on mine. Her credit score is automatically higher because she has a better mix. So she's got the secured stuff on there and I'm just living on my credit cards, is what it looks like. So as you're kind of going through your career and going through school, think about what you're getting. Is it a student loan and a credit card? That's pretty normal for a new grad. And then adding a car loan later. If you have a parent and you're considering getting a car loan and they're thinking, we would really like them to have a car now, and they're buying it for you and they're willing to let you co-sign, that would be great, because then you're building the credit from the car loan that they're paying for. Same with a credit card. If your parents have a credit card that they're allowing you to use, maybe they're willing to put you on as a co-borrower on that credit card, and you can kind of ride along with their good payment history, until a few years after graduation. Those are really good strategies for kind of getting some good credit history right out of the gate. Yep, so credit history impacts so many things. So, if you improve your credit score, you'll increase your savings. So can I get to the I'm gonna wait. So Jenny asked me if I could talk about why it's important to build your credit history. So when you improve your credit score and you have a better credit score, you're really going to increase your savings. In this really kind of 660 to 700 range is where we see most new grads come out. So they're coming out there with a student loan maybe, and maybe a credit card. And it could go in either direction pretty easily, but I would expect most people to come out really in this 660 to 700 range, which is a good place to start. And then as you build your credit, your score really climbs. And your golden score is really 740 to 850. That is going to get you anything that you want all day long. It's going to get you approved for a mortgage. It's going to get you the best rate on the mortgage. It's going to get the best rate on a car loan, best rate on insurance. Did you guys know they pull credit for insurance? So I have had the same insurance provider for over 12 years, and my credit score was not quite as good as it is today, and I'm lazy, and I haven't changed my insurance provider. But if I did, my insurance premiums would go down because they pull today's credit score and drop my insurance premium. But I have a mortgage and car loans and other stuff all in that insurance, and I don't really want to move it. But if you guys can do that, if you just have a car loan, let's say you come out of school and your score is like a 680, 700, in a couple of years, it's higher, jump insurance companies, and then swap back. So when you're able to jump insurance companies, usually your premiums drop because they want your new business. So if you've got the time and you don't mind going through the hassle of doing that, absolutely, that's going to save you some money. Probably at least $100, maybe $200 every 6 months. So here's a scenario of two borrowers. It really kind of demonstrates the difference in a good credit score versus a not so good credit score. So our borrower A, they're both taking out a $30,000 car loan. Borrower A is going to end up with 2.99 rate. That's our promo rate today on a car loan. Some dealers are able to get you like a 0% or 1.9 with the manufacturer. But let's say you have a C tier credit score, which is that 660 to 680 range. Your rate on your car loan is going to be almost 11%. So you're paying over $100 more a month on the same car. And over the life of the loan, borrower A is saving $8,600. So starting now and building your credit score is going to help you save money on not only your monthly cash flow, but your overall spending once you're starting to get into those higher dollar expenses and borrowing. So there are 3 credit bureaus out there: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And here is my challenge to you. Annualcreditreport.com is a free site. The government provides you 3 credit bureaus every year for free. So what I would like you guys to do is pick one of these credit bureaus, go to this website, pick one of these credit bureaus and get it for free, and check to make sure that everything on there is yours. Make sure there aren't student loans that you're not expecting, or a credit card, or maybe even a medical collection because there's some random bill from Carl that you didn't pay and it was $30. Because that happens, they bill from like 3 different places. So go out there and check to make sure everything that's on it is actually yours. If it's not, you can dispute it right from there. So you can dispute it and say, this isn't mine, and then 4 months from now, I want you to go pull the next credit bureau. And then 4 months after that, pull the next credit bureau. So you're getting a fresh bureau from at least one of the credit bureaus every 4 months. So you're always able to check to make sure that things out there are accurate, they're yours, they're factual. If you want a credit score, you have to pay for it. But at least you're getting a credit bureau to make sure what's appearing out there is actually yours and it's reported correctly. That's one of the biggest things that you can do today. Any questions there? This does not hurt your credit score to check your annualcreditreport.com. If you go to a dealership and you sign one of their credit bureau things because you're shopping for a car, you just kind of want to see if you're going to get approved, they're probably going to send it to 12 to 20 different lenders, and you're going to have 12 to 20 inquiries on your credit report. So don't do that unless you're really, really actually shopping for a car. And don't just go applying for stuff unless you know what you want. A good place to start as a student is like a store credit card. Usually you'll get approved for something. And then also going with kind of a major provider that has like a mainstream like Visa or Discover or MasterCard. So your local credit union is a great place to start. If you have a community bank where you live, if you already have a bank where you have an account, start with them, go in and see if they can help you get a credit card open to start establishing some credit history. Sometimes they might require it to be secured, but if you can get a credit card to start building some credit history, that's a good place to start as a student. So this kind of leads from the other slide. If you do need to dispute anything on your credit report, the company that you dispute with has 30 days to respond or it comes off your credit report. So, and annualcreditreport.com, they'll be able to assist you with that. And if you do apply for credit and you're denied, you are entitled to a free credit report within 60 days of that denial, if you had that happen. And then going back to what I said before, is making sure that you're constantly reviewing at least annually for credit bureau accuracy. You can also visit myfico.com. It's a good place to kind of look at how the credit score is compiled and broken down. It matches what I have got up there for the breakdown of what goes into the credit score. So the things that are really on your credit report are going to be your personal information, like your name, your date of birth, usually the last four of your social security number, credit information, so any credit you've had granted in the last 7 years, public record information, things like judgments, liens against you, medical collections, bankruptcy, any of that. The one thing that doesn't go on a credit report is a cable bill or a cell phone bill. So that's not really helping you establish credit history unless you don't pay it. Then it shows up negatively. So another takeaway today is make sure you pay everything on time. Even if it's like a penny, just pay it and get it taken care of because it can haunt you for 7 years. That's how long that stuff stays on there. And then also on the Bureau is a list of inquiries and the agencies who pulled. So if your car insurance has pulled, or you've gone shopping for a car loan, or even your apartment complex can pull. And future employers check your credit. Did you guys know that? So on your background check, they're pulling a credit report. So yet another reason to build and establish credit history today. Any questions so far? All right, so when you improve your credit score, you increase your savings. The 4 things again determined whether you're not getting approved or not for any loan or mortgage, your rate, your homeowner's insurance and car insurance, and whether you receive that potential job offer. So the main do's and don'ts of maintaining a good credit score: pay your bills on time, keep your balance low in relation to your available credit, going back to that example of $1,000 limit, or the $10,000 limit with a $1,000 balance. Really a good rule of thumb is no more than 25% of your limit charged at any one time. Monitor your credit report to check for any recent activity or items that are not yours. Have a good mix of credit cards and installment loans like car loans or a mortgage. You can work with us to help us boost your credit score. So if you pull your credit report, you pull your credit score and you're like, what is happening here? How can I improve this? You can always stop by any of our branches if you bring a copy of that, and we can give you some advice on how you can maybe move things around or strategize to bring up that credit score based on your individual situation. So the don'ts: don't open accounts that you intend not to use because you're just adding to the new accounts opened. Don't close any unused accounts that are good standing. So if you have an old store card or something that's been open for a while, that's a lot of your payment history. As long as it's been in good standing, keep it open. It's going to keep your credit score up. When you close it, it's going to drop it because it wipes out that history that's been there. Don't request to decrease your limit on your credit card. So think about this. If you have a $10,000 limit and you charge $9,000 and you decide, I'm going to pay it off, but I really don't need this high of a limit, you have them drop it to $5,000. On your credit report, it shows that at one point you had been charged $9,000. It looks like you're over your limit. It looks like you did something that was a little fraudulent or wonky that put you $4,000 over your limit. So if whatever you've been at, on your credit card, don't ask for a limit decrease. And don't open several new accounts at one time. So, thank you all for your time today. If you have any questions, let me know.
So if you have an account, or you have several accounts that you're not using at all, and just every month it's zero, that's just good for you?
So she asked if you have several accounts that you're not using and they're just zero balances every single month, that's good. It is good because it maintains the old good payment history on it. The only time that I would really encourage you to close that is if you're paying an annual fee on that type of account. So I've got this old card with State Farm that I've had since I was in college, and it has like a limit of like $5,000 or something. And every like 2 years they send me a letter and they tell me if I don't use it, they're gonna close it. So I use it for a transaction and then I wait another 2 years and get the letter. I'm just doing it so that I don't lose that limit, because part of your credit score is your total limits and then versus what you have on them. So like if you have your total cards total $50,000 in limits, but you only have like $5,000 charged total between all the cards, it's significantly better. It shows you have more capacity to spend than if you have maybe $20,000 in limits with $5,000 charged. So that's why you leave it open, because it's such a big component of your credit score, that capacity to borrow. Any other questions?
So a lot of the free credit report websites use something called a vintage score. How accurate is that?
So every bureau calculates your score a little bit differently. FICO is kind of the rule of thumb, so those 3 bureaus are what they're looking at. A Vantage score could be weighted based on what you're looking to do. So the other interesting thing is that if you're at a dealer, the score that they use might be more heavily weighted towards how you paid your car loans. If you're getting a credit card, maybe the score is more heavily weighted towards how you paid your credit cards. When you're looking for like a mortgage, or you're going through kind of a mainstream financial institution, they're using the basic FICO that really has an even balance of all of the things factored in. Good question. So when you pull a credit score from multiple different sites or multiple different sources, there's a very good chance they're going to range anywhere from 50 to 100 points. Some of those sites pull up to like 1,000-point range, which is way inaccurate. So sometimes people walk in and they're like, "Your credit score is 919." I'm like, "No, not possible." So I mean, it makes you feel good, but it's not quite accurate. Good question. Anybody else? Yeah, Jenny. There are 3 different bureaus. It's been that way, they've established that way. On a mortgage lender is going to pull all 3 bureaus and they're going to use the middle of the 3 scores. So TransUnion might be high, Equifax might be low, so they'll use the Experian score. And also different lenders report to different bureaus. In this particular area, most lenders report to TransUnion and Equifax. In other areas, they might report to Equifax and Experian. So that's why it's important to pull all 3 bureaus, because sometimes the information is different. Especially some of like the local like cable providers and things like that, if you haven't paid, or like Dish Network, if you haven't returned the box, they might only be reporting to TransUnion or something. That's usually the bureau that I start with. Just in the Midwest, we find that it has the most accurate information, most complete rather. I wouldn't say accurate, but complete. If something's missing, you cannot add it, but what you can do is you can contact your financial institution that is at and ask them why it's not reporting. It could be that they just don't report to that bureau. It could be that there's an error and it's not reporting correctly. There are multiple reasons. So if you find something missing, reach out to your FI, financial institution, and they can take a look. I know you guys are in a hurry probably to get out of here, right? So, I didn't see that it came up. So this is my contact information. Feel free to just give me a call, shoot me an email. You can even send a Facebook message or anything through our credit union website, and we'll make sure to reach back out. You can call our main line or stop in. We have a branch just right there. You can see the trees. So feel free to stop by if you have questions. If you want help like reviewing your credit bureau, we're happy to help, no charge. And hope you guys have a great summer. So see you next week.